Hey guys, this is Gabriel Fielding, and I want to talk to you guys about something that's been on my mind lately, and it has something to do with the Sonic franchise. And I'm not going to talk about the Sonic movies this time. I'm going to talk about the Sonic games. And, you know, basically, I, some of you guys may have heard of the character Marine the Raccoon. Yeah, she debuted in the game Sonic Rush Adventure, which is basically a sequel to Sonic Rush. And, you know, as you guys may have known, if you guys have played Sonic Rush Adventure, Marine the Raccoon was, you know, a very energetic, enthusiastic character with a reckless behavior. And, when Sonic and Tails met her, she seemed kind of bossy and they became, you know, concerned for her safety. And Blaze the cat shows up and she ends up finding Marine kind of annoying. And at some point before fighting Captain Whisker, you know, basically they decided to have Marine stay in the ship. And, fearing for her safety, Blaze the cat, she called Marine a nuisance, and it hurt Marine's feelings. It made her cry, and, you know, basically Marine wanted to prove herself, but this was this one battle, Sonic Tails, Marine, Sonic Tails and Blaze, they had to do it alone, and you know, of course, Marine went anyway, followed them to where they were going, and basically, despite how disappointed Blaze was and how worried Sonic and Tails were, Marine managed to retrieve the jeweled scepter, which Blaze was really pleased of. And although she was still sort of upset at what could have happened, you know, she was really grateful that Marine retrieved the jeweled scepter, and she basically realized how wrong she was and became fond of Marine. Well, sort of. And she Marine, she even helped Sonic Tails and Blaze beat Eggman Negative, who shows up, you know, at the end of the game. And after Sonic and Tails leave, Marine is sad and Blaze comforts Marine. And, Marine seems to have gotten a little bit better towards the end of Sonic Rush Adventure. But if you play the DS version of Sonic Colors, and you see the characters Blaze, Silver, and everyone else, which did not appear in the console version of Sonic Colors, it is mentioned by Blaze that Marine is the same as she was when they first met. I mean, I like to believe that it means that Marine is, you know, doing her best to being a little bit different, but you know, she hasn't entirely changed, but she's trying. And because for a while that there haven't been any Sonic games featuring Marine the Raccoon, I basically thought, knowing how Sonic Rush Adventure ended, and knowing how fond that Blaze could be becoming of Marine, despite how annoying Marine may have been at times, I had been wondering how. I'd been wondering what it'd be like if Sega did a spin off game in the Sonic franchise focusing on Marine, and it featured Blaze the cat training Marine and helping her on her journey, and encouraging her if she made any mistakes and feels like she can't do anything anymore, can't go on adventures or be captain anymore. And this would be a really interesting thing. And sorry, I got slightly sick recently, but it's not too bad. I just have a cough. My throat's fine, no runny nose or anything like that. But as I was saying, you know, before I talk about how the game could go, I just want to talk about something real quick of why Marine could be reckless and why she still may be the way she is. Um, Basically, as far as how fond Blaze is of Marine is concerned and what their friendship is like, you know, I'd like to point out that the reason for Marine's reckless behavior could be because of the death of her parents. And if Blaze's archenemy, Eggman Negative, have anything to do with that, this could lead into a very interesting scenario. Number one, if Blaze learns from Marine that the death of her parents is the reason she is reckless and that she used her happiness and energetic and enthusiastic behavior to hide her anger and sadness and didn't want Blaze or Sonic or Tails to know what she went through, you know, this could be a really good opportunity for Blaze to really understand Marine and help her during her journey on adventures and fighting bad guys and stuff. And this is definitely going to be a much tougher situation between Blaze and Eggman Negative because, as you may know, unlike Ivo Robotnik, who just wants to rule the world, Eggman Negative wants to destroy it. And as a result, most definitely kill anybody in the world. And as far as Marine's parents is concerned, all these characters in the Sonic franchise, for example, the main character himself, Sonic, and of course Tails, Knuckles, Amy Rose, Big, and so on and so on. Okay, a lot of these characters, when you play the Sonic games, especially the mainline games, the mainline canon games, okay, none of them have any mention about their parents, okay? And we all had theories of of all the characters' parents being dead. Of course, one of them, Cream the Rabbit, has a mother, Vanilla. Okay, Vanilla, Cream the Rabbit's mother. She's alive, of course. But where is her father? And of course, Vector acts as a father figure to Charmy the Bee. You have Sonic acting more like a brother to Tails, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so a lot of these characters, knowing that we didn't see their parents in any of their games, they may have died at some point. And as for Marine the Raccoon, Sega, if you create a video game focusing on Marine the Raccoon, and at one point she reveals to Blaze that the death of her parents is the reason of her reckless behavior, and that she used her typical attitude to hide her sadness and anger. I don't want you guys to feel like you might be ruining the character in any way or anything, but let me just point this out. Ever since 2013, Sega, ever since 2013, all right, you guys have been making you've been making Amy Rose into a much better character than she was since Sonic CD all the way to Sonic Generations. And look at what happened after remastering Sonic Generations, yet alongside a new game, Shadow Generations. Okay, as you redid Sonic Generations last year in 2024, the clip where Sonic tries to use his hand to block Amy or push her. You guys redid that clip where Sonic does not use his hand to block Amy or push her, and you see her just holding cupcakes for him. That's pretty good, okay? And we're going to be seeing Amy Rose in Sonic Movie 4 in a couple of years. And, look at what you're doing with her in Sonic Movie 4. She's, she has, I mean, the look of her face in the post-credit scene of Sonic Movie 3, it's a sign of bravery and heroism. And before all of that, you know, you know, despite how terrible this TV show is, you know, just look at how she was in the TV show Sonic Boom. And I didn't see Sonic Prime, but I'm sure she had good character in that show as well. And if Sega can do what they did with Amy in making her into a much better character than she was in the games that came out before Sonic Lost World, then I'm pretty sure you guys can do what you can to make Marine the Raccoon into a better character. So getting to how a spin-off game focusing on Marine the Raccoon could go, here's how it could go. Now, this might be more perfect to save until sometime in the middle of the game or maybe towards the end. I mean, maybe they could put it in the beginning, because if Blaze is involved with Marine in the beginning of the game, then this could definitely make Blaze not only be understanding but also agree to train Marine and help her. So, but either way, whether if it's in the beginning of the game, the middle, or even the end, Marine the Raccoon must explain to Blaze that the reason her reckless behavior is a thing is simply because she was pushed to that point after Eggman Negative killed her parents. Okay? Because and look, like I mentioned, Eggman Negative, he doesn't want to rule the world like his ancestor Ivo Robotnik. Okay? He wants to destroy it. And I guess after being stopped by Blaze so many times from destroying the world, the Soul Dimension, okay, he might have secretly killed Marine's parents. And because of how, and she must have been upset after that, and yet after meeting Sonic, Tails, and Blaze, I truly like to believe she might have used her typical behavior to hide that anger and sadness. And as a matter of fact, that part in Sonic Rush Adventure where Marine cried after being called a nuisance, not only was she saddened by what Blaze called her, but part of that sadness could have something to do with what she went through before meeting Sonic, Tails, and Blaze, losing her own parents to Eggman Negative. And you know what? Again, like I mentioned, Eggman Negative could have possibly done it secretly after being stopped by Blaze so many times from destroying the world. And part of killing someone and trying to destroy the world, we don't know that much about Eggman Negative's backstory, but part of it could be because of his experiences with being bullied and neglected and abused, and so yeah, no matter which part of this spin-off game focusing on Marine goes, or okay, basically Marine at some point has to explain to Blaze that the death of her parents is the reason she was the way she was, and that Eggman Negative made it all happen by killing her own parents and pushing her to be reckless because she was actually furious at Eggman Negative. And, she basically wanted to make him pay. And you know what? There's a chance that Captain Whisker may have wanted to, there's a chance that Captain Whisker may have been involved in this as well, which may have been why Marine the Raccoon wanted to prove herself by fighting, Captain Whisker. And I'm pretty sure Marine will also feel that her actions may have been inexcusable and doesn't expect Blaze to understand. But either way, if Marine tells Blaze this will give Blaze this will give Blaze the cat an opportunity to not only develop better character of herself, but also be a little understanding of Marine, and maybe, just maybe, not find her annoying as much. That and and if Marine's explanation of the reason behind her reckless behavior happens somewhere in the beginning of the game, focusing on Marine the Raccoon, if it happens in the beginning, then this will definitely not only make Blaze develop better character of herself and be more understanding of Marine and being more patient with her, but this will also give her an opportunity to possibly help Marine in her on her journey on wanting to be the best captain and best adventurer and good at fighting bad guys and stuff. And definitely, you know, as she trains Marine, you know, just like in any game or any Sonic game, as Blaze is training Marine, she could tell the player what buttons to press or what to use to move Marine the Raccoon around if she's a playable character. Next thing you know, something happens to Blaze. She could be captured by Eggman Negative, and Marine the Raccoon, having no choice, will try to do something about it. And basically just, think about and remember the teachings that Blaze gave her, and Marine will do her best. And just like in any video game or in any movie, Marine, just like any character in any movie or video game, like I mentioned, could get to a point where she may feel like giving up. Especially if Marine the Raccoon herself gets into a cage that Blaze the Cat could be in. And Eggman Negative could be doing this due to his anger of being stopped so many times. And if Marine starts to feel like she's not good at adventuring or being a captain, then hopefully we could see Blaze the Cat encouraging Marine to learn from her mistakes, keep trying, and never give up. And if Marine feels like that, and if Marine also mentions that she looks forward to seeing other worlds, especially Mobius, because that's where Sonic lives, and she misses Sonic and Tails, but also feels that Blaze is not comfortable with it because of what her behavior was when they first met, I'm pretty sure Blaze would definitely assure Marine that if she wants to go, she can go, but on one condition: take advice and listen. And I'm pretty sure Marine the Raccoon could agree to that. And hopefully, at least with some of Blaze's assistance, Marine the Raccoon will pull something off to get them both out of whatever situation Eggman Negative put them in. And if Captain Whisker is involved, maybe they'll stop the two villains together. And hopefully, Blaze is proud of Marine, and they do something to celebrate. Maybe take Marine to see Sonic and Tails and Mobius, or maybe take her to Sweet Mountain. Why not? And one more thing, it's 2025. Next year is 2026, and the year after that is 2027. 2025. This is like the 20th anniversary of Blaze the Cat. Yet there hasn't been anything big about her going on, and the only thing I know is that she's going to be featured in the new racing game, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. But there doesn't seem to be anything big about Blaze, you know, for that. And because this is because 2025, in my opinion, is like Blaze's 20th anniversary. Not to mention the fact that, it's August, so in about 1, 2, 3. In 3 months would be Blaze's anniversary debut. Okay? She debuted in Sonic Rush on November 15th, 2005. This could have been a great time to possibly remake Sonic Rush into a 3D speedrunning game, just like Sonic Unleashed, Colors, Generations, or Forces. And most definitely add voice acting and cutscenes. And they could do the same with Sonic Rush Adventure. This year would have been a good time for that, but it's not happening, is it? And you know what? It doesn't matter when, but this could be a really good idea. And next year, 2026, okay, that would be the 20th anniversary of Silver the Hedgehog. And Silver the Hedgehog, he debuted on November 14th, 2006, in the game Sonic 2006. And just a couple days later, on November 16th, in that same year, he was featured in Sonic Rivals. And because the events of Sonic 06 never actually happened and was, erased at the end, Sonic Rivals was a reintroduction of Silver. And I highly doubt this could happen, but why not possibly remake Sonic Rivals? Like, make it a little similar to the Sega Saturn game, Sonic R, but a little bit better. Like, instead of a side-scrolling racing game, why not a third-person racing game? Like Sonic R, but better. And do the same thing with the sequel, Sonic Rivals 2. And speaking of remakes, whether or not if the Sonic Rush series gets remade, if you guys remake them, especially if you remake the one where Marine the Raccoon appears, Sonic Rush Adventure, please redo the clip where after Blaze calls Marine a nuisance and is harsh to her, and then seeing her cry, we see Blaze instantly apologizing to Marine for hurting her feelings. And hopefully Marine forgives Blaze. And Blaze does comfort Marine at the end of Sonic Rush Adventure because of Sonic and Tails' departure. But why not redo the clip in a possible remake of the game, where she actually gives Marine a hug? And as for the spin-off game focusing on Marine is concerned, again, Sega has never talked about doing anything like this before, but if they could do it in 2027. And that would be the 20th anniversary of Marine the Raccoon. So, what do you guys think? Do you think a spin-off game focusing on Marine the Raccoon should happen? And should Blaze the Cat help her on her journey? Should Marine the Raccoon explain the reason behind her reckless behavior, the loss of her parents, and Eggman negative, and even Captain Whisker being behind that? I mean, how do you think it should go? What do you think should happen? Like I said, Sega, you're doing what you can. You guys have been making Amy into a much better character since 2013. And I think you guys have an opportunity to do the same with Marine. Heck, even Blaze, and maybe even Silver. So, yeah. Just, if you guys can, just let me know in the comments after you watch this video what you guys think. Thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time.